Welcome to Navigating the Future of Accounting with AI. This is our deep dive number one, and in this, we're going to talk about how you can master efficient research using the power of ChatGPT. Now, to be clear, hopefully you've watched our first video where we introduce ChatGPT. We explain what it is. I'm not here to teach you the ins and outs of whether or not you should use AI. We're going to talk about specifically how you can use AI and everything. Just to give you a background, artificial intelligence is a broad category. It includes hundreds, if not thousands, of apps and tools. We are specifically today only talking about ChatGPT, which is a product created by a company called OpenAI. Now, the reason I talk about ChatGPT is I firmly believe that it's better to be the master of one tool than a generalist who doesn't understand many tools. I think it was Chet Holmes. He said, no, actually, let's go back. It was Bruce Lee who first said it. Bruce Lee said, I don't fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time each. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Chet Holmes has something very similar, but basically the idea is we want to become experts at using one tool first. Once we've explored it, once we've exhausted it, then we can look at other tools. So rant aside, our learning objectives for this presentation are: number one, we're going to identify and access AI tools, specifically ChatGPT for accounting research. Participants will learn to identify the most effective AI language models and tools tailored for accounting research, including how to access and utilize these tools for maximum efficiency. Number two, I'm going to share how you can streamline your research processes with AI, and you will acquire the skills to streamline your research process using AI to quickly sift through tax codes, regulations, financial standards, and others. The goal is overall to reduce the time you spend on manual research. And the third thing we will cover is I'm going to share insights into how you can use AI and use it for strategic decision making. And this is one of my favorite things. There's so many great things, but basically you're going to be able to integrate AI generated insights into your decision making process, both for yourselves, your practice, and your clients. And ultimately, you will enhance your ability to provide strategic advice based on up to date and comprehensive research findings. So, this is a big topic. I will cover it as best as I can in the time we have together, but I encourage you to think of this as a springboard. This is the launch of your research, not the end of it. So again, you will get best results by actively applying this, by practicing. So I'm going to encourage you throughout to check out other resources and to practice. Now we have a lot to cover. Basically, I'm going to introduce AI in accounting. So we'll talk a little bit about how it's transforming accounting research, and we'll highlight the evolution and benefit of the tools. Then we're going to talk about ChatGPT. So that's going to be the number one tool that we talk about. There are many, many others. Again, be the master of one before you try to be the jack of all trades. We will talk about how to streamline your research with artificial intelligence, and we'll talk about how you can utilize AI generated insights for decision making, and we'll talk about real world application and strategic advice. And if we have time, we'll do some hands-on demonstrations, but the reality is I'm more likely to show you here's what's possible, go try it on your own. And we do have other follow-up courses. So this is just an introduction. This is, if we're talking about university, this is first year level type stuff. We won't get into the deep stuff until our next series, where we're going to pick one of these topics and go deep and do a full-on tutorial with a hands-on demonstration. So I'm going to encourage you to practice this on your own, identify the challenges, and we will talk about ethical considerations. How do you use AI for accounting research, and what strategies can we use to overcome ethical considerations? Again, we're not going to cover this today, but usually we do an interactive Q&A session. And basically, we have other detailed workshops. This is your introduction to ChatGPT in the research side of accounting. So let's talk about AI in accounting, and I can't stress this enough. I remember back in the day when I was a young accountant, a lot of accounting firms were actually actively debating, do we use digital tax preparation software, or do we keep using pen and pencil or paper and pencil? And believe it or not, there was an exodus from the accounting profession. A lot of older practitioners would rather leave the profession and retire than embrace the new technology, which, again, it's kind of amazing to think that in a lifetime we've seen this, but I can't stress this enough. The onslaught of artificial intelligence is inevitable. You can resist it, you can fight it, but it's coming. And more importantly, it is an advantage to you to adopt it early. Your clients are going to value it. They're going to ask you for help. You might as well be the one who helps them. And just to give you some context, when we look at AI, software used to develop on a 1-year cycle. Again, if you can imagine, we used to wait for that disk or CD-ROM to come, and we'd update our software once a year. Universities had time to get textbooks in, and publishers could write textbooks because they knew people would use that version of software for a decade at least. Now it's evolving to the point, the things I knew about AI 3 months ago are obsolete. So AI is rapidly advancing, and again, either you catch up or you get completely left behind. There's a lot of doom and gloom about the accounting industry saying we're going to be replaced by robots. Not true. AI is going to take away the mundane, the repetitive, the stuff that adds very little value, and it's going to enhance our ability to provide those strategic insights. So I see this as an unprecedented opportunity. Accountants can shine like never before. And what I love is that big firm, small firm doesn't matter. AI puts us all on an equal footing. Yes, the big firms might have better marketing budgets and better training, but smaller accounting firms can be more adaptable and more flexible. So I can't stress this enough. AI is here. It's here to stay. And it is amazing at automating and expediting routine tasks so that our accountants can focus on more complex and strategic activities. So one of my favorite uses is that AI, especially ChatGPT, is really good at analyzing large data sets and looking for keywords, key summary, actionable insights, and overall summarizing and helping us improve decision making and the decision making process. So AI can really revolutionize client services by providing personalized, efficient, and accurate financial advice. I talk about that a lot in this particular series. We will go deeper and deeper, but I want you to understand that AI is going to be critical. If you're not using it and your competitors are, how slow are you going to be? Again, I'm going to date myself, but I remember once upon a time, I worked in an accounting firm and we had the income tax code in a book. It was a physical thing. You had to go get the book. You had to flip through, find things. And they came out with digital copies. And it was fascinating because the old school partners, they knew roughly where to flip to inside the book. The young people really embraced the technology of the digital, and I think that alone revolutionized tax research because instead of, knowing your sections and being able to flip to it, it could bring up commentary and additional thoughts that maybe had occurred, developments and updates that you might not hear of if you're working in isolation in a small tax practice, for example. So let's talk about AI tools. And I can't stress this enough. There are hundreds, if not thousands. Pick the one that makes the most sense to you and get good at it. Once you've gotten to the point where you're confident, you're comfortable, then you can look at other tools. So I'm not here to tell you about the 1001 tools. We're going to talk about my favorite, which is ChatGPT. And the reason it's my favorite, it is really good for data analysis and it has amazing capabilities for processing language. So we could talk about how to select the right tools. My advice to you is really, really simple. Look at tools that have a rating for reliability. They have to be user friendly and they need to be integratable into your existing systems. So what I like about ChatGPT is it doesn't need to integrate. It can stand alone and it's easy to implement. The big thing is teach your staff how to use it. They will learn and grow. And by the way, if you're ever stuck with AI models, GPT in particular, ChatGPT, ask it. Say, hey, ChatGPT, how can you help me do this thing? And it is amazing because GPT will say, I'm really good at this. Here's how you do it. Here's what you ask for. Here's what you give me. Here's what it'll look like. So think about it. The vast majority, I'll just say this, most AI tools are either a freemium where there's a free and then a paid, or they're subscription models. We're just now starting to see some open source and some free models. You get what you pay for. I don't want to work with a company that has no revenue model because I don't know that they'll be around tomorrow. ChatGPT is the dominant. As of the recording, they have over 100 million subscribers. I think Google and Microsoft are going to come up fast, but the reality is GPT has a lot of advantages right now today. So I can't stress this enough. You need to be in a state of continuous learning. And I promise you, if you get really good at AI or if you just get sort of good at it, the time you save there, reinvest some of that back into learning other tools. And we will talk about some other resources, but for now, let's just jump in and talk about how we can use AI. All right, let's talk first about streamlining research using AI. And again, I'm saying AI, but really I'm talking about ChatGPT. And really, truly, the number one thing you need to understand, ChatGPT and other AI models, they are not smart. They're not dumb, they're just not smart in the way humans are. What they do is they analyze large bits of data and they predict the response. So every now and then it will come up with something completely and utterly random. It is up to you, the user, to say that doesn't make sense. So what I like to do is look at ways to simplify. And my number one, when I worked in tax, I got sick and tired of reading tax documents, tax guides, tax this, tax that. What's really amazing is if something's available online publicly, or if you've got access to the written version, the digital version, AI is really good at summarizing. And one of the things I will say is, hey, ChatGPT, in your role, GPT loves to role play. In your role as a tax accountant, please provide a summary of this lengthy regulatory document. Give me the top 5 bullet points. Or how do I know if somebody's eligible for this? It is amazing because GPT and other language models, They love to take large, complex documents and simplify them into bullet points. So that is my number one thing. The other is, tell me 3 areas I should research. It is really good at simplifying the complex. And again, traditional research, you might get there in the end, but you're going to take some time. So I've seen this. I can do a mountain of research and summary in about 10 minutes. And honestly, it takes me longer to read the output than it takes me to get it. Whereas before, I used to spend days flipping through books and trying to find relevant court cases, things like that, that supported the tax. But the reality is, if you're looking to research something, I use GPT as a filter, so it reduces the things I have to look at. And reality is, if you know your stuff, and I can't tell you this, but you've got to know your stuff. If you do research, you'll very quickly see how fast and simple AI can be. So one of the things I would suggest you do just to get yourself comfortable is practice researching things you already know the answer to. And what that does is it helps you prove to yourself that it works, but also you know how long it took you to do that first research. Watch how quickly you can do it with the help of AI. And just think about it. AI performs, I don't know what the number is, but infinitely more processing activities in a microsecond than you or I can do in a day. So it is amazing how it can filter and sort. And by the way, if you have the ability, let's say, of news feeds, you can set up alerts for new regulations or market trends, and you can ask GPT to add it to a knowledge base so that you can understand how things have changed. And the biggest challenge I would say is a lot of people don't know how to integrate AI into their research, and they don't know how to overcome those problems. So believe it or not, my number one tip, if you're watching this right now, is to go to AI and say, I'm looking to research this topic using these materials with this methodology in mind. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. Help me understand how you can best help me do this research. And believe it or not, AI is amazing. It will create, with your help, it can create a step-by-step checklist. It can create a research methodology paper. Basically, it can even say, here's how to overcome problems or resistance to using AI. Now, this is important. AI is not your average typical tool where you have to look for the help or the support. It's literally built right in. So the number one tip, if I give you nothing else today, ask GPT, how can you help me solve this? Or how can you help me get this answer? GPT will tell you. Now, for the record, you might be thinking, well, Jeff, you said sometimes it does weird things. Yes, it does. But once you've gotten the result, then you can say, okay, this is the result I wanted. Here's what I liked about it. Please help me optimize my search process so that or my research process so I get this answer quicker next time. So that's the beautiful thing. ChatGPT is really good at telling you how it can help you. Let's talk about how we can apply AI insights. So, the first thing I want you to know is that AI generated insights are absolutely critical. They play an essential role in informed decision making, highlighting the depth and accuracy these insights can offer. So, for example, if you're looking at a deal and you're trying to figure things out, you might look at some ratios, and then if things change, you have to recalculate. It takes time. The beautiful thing about using artificial intelligence is it can recalculate very quickly. And I don't know about you, but I find that for me personally, it is much faster and easier to check math than it is to do the math in the first place. So one of the things I love to do is take raw data and transform it into something strategic. And again, artificial intelligence, especially ChatGPT, was built for this kind of analysis. There are so many advantages over traditional analysis. Yes, number one, it's faster, but number two, you can ask AI to show its work so you can actually check step by step, did it get the right result based on the inputs? And the reality is, there are a lot of examples we can use where AI has led to significant business outcomes, such as identifying cost saving opportunities or new revenue streams. For me personally, I love using AI to analyze a problem and ask it questions as if it was, an expert and an advisor. And again, I'm not saying eliminate the human, I'm just saying AI helps the human be faster. And this is a critical part of a balanced approach where we use AI insights to complement, not replace, human expertise and judgment. So there are pitfalls in relying solely on AI for decision making. And I want you to understand, I can't stress this enough, do not do it. If you use the way I liken it, the example I use is sometimes you're playing and you're using AI. It's kind of like a conductor playing a symphony, and you get beautiful music as long as the conductor's paying attention and watching the symphony, which is AI. Every now and then AI goes off in a corner and plays the kazoo. It is like painful to watch. You know it's happened, but you need to be the expert guiding it. You can't just count on it to do the right things at all times. So, one of the things I recommend, and you can ask AI this, is to look for best practices for validating and interpreting your AI generated insights. Again, it's a tool to help you, not a tool to replace you. So again, I could do hands-on demonstrations, but the reality is I'd rather walk you through how to use AI to do this yourself. Because if you learn how to use AI to do your own research, you are more likely to use it than if I show examples. Now, we will be doing some deeper dives and we'll literally spend hours doing case studies, but for now I want you to understand how AI can help you. And research is its strong point. So, for example, maybe you've got a section of the tax code you don't really necessarily want to spend the time analyzing it and summarize it. Maybe you do. And maybe you've done it already, but if you put something in, and I can't stress this enough, practice with data that you know so that you can look at the outcome and go, yeah, that makes sense. But basically, what you can do is put, let's say a complicated tax structure or tax strategy or something, you can ask AI, and again, you can say, AI, how can you help me with this? But usually you can just say, ChatGPT, I've input this data. Please help me summarize it in 3 bullet points with an action item, something like that. So AI is really good at taking a lot of data and condensing it to a little bit of data. So the functionalities that are really useful for accounting research are that ability to go very, very wide and then come to a very narrow point. So it can help you find, I always look for what's related to this, what in this area don't I know about, what should I know about, what other factors should I consider? And it is a beautiful thing because you can even do multidisciplinary research. Maybe you're doing tax research and you want to know what's the environmental implications of this decision. Now, I would only do that if I understood the environmental implications, because otherwise, how do I know good from bad? But as an example, if you're looking at audit findings, you can provide some external resources for areas of management service or management advisory that you're not offering as well. Or you can find ways to create templates or work papers where you can help serve your clients better. So anything requiring a lot of research with a lot of data, is somewhere where we can get really efficient very quickly with ChatGPT as an example. And unlike an employee, ChatGPT, if you ask it, it always shows its work. So you can actually verify that it did what it said it did. So once you get into the customization options, this is where AI and ChatGPT can really, really shine. You can tailor your output to specific accounting needs. Let's say you're referring to some specific reference point, the difference between cash and accrual accounting. You can give it a lot of parameters and it'll tailor your response based on your parameters. So some of the biggest issues that we encounter with AI research is either we're using the wrong resources or it's applying the resources incorrectly. So always I ask GPT, how could I verify this? How can you help me ensure it's correct? Make sure you show your work. These are the best ways to troubleshoot common problems. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the challenges. And basically, we want to be aware, and this is something you can actually ask GPT, what are some of the common challenges that accountants face when integrating AI into research processes? The biggest ones are going to be data quality issues or learning curves from the user point of view. But the beautiful thing is, if you ask GPT, it's usually really good at helping you use it better. So the biggest thing, I promise you, no matter what you do, your biggest challenge is getting your employees to embrace the technology, accept change within your organization. And I can't understand that because to me, I'd rather embrace something new today and make my life easier tomorrow than wait 5 years and then catch up. So that's the big thing. Get your most tech savvy, your smartest, your brightest, your best. Get them on board. Everybody else will follow suit in time. And we've talked in other episodes, and in this one in particular, about data privacy and security. Be mindful. And as a firm, I really encourage you to create best practices for ensuring that you're safeguarding sensitive information. As a totally random fun fact, there was a study done, and it was amazing that I can't remember the percentage, but it was over half of most common practice management solutions had less security around them with all that sensitive client data than most AI models do. So be mindful, and you can ask GPT questions, you can do some research, but be mindful. And as I said, I don't put client identification information in AI, but it's really good at aggregating and reporting and giving you those outputs. So we really want that balance always between AI automation and human oversight. By the way, there are some court cases where companies are trying to deflect and say, well, AI led me astray, AI didn't do this, AI didn't do that. The courts seem to be ruling saying the human should have stopped AI, not the other way around. So have a research methodology, check your results from time to time, be comfortable in the results. And always, always focus on ongoing support and training, because if we want to stay proficient with AI technologies, we have to be prepared to move forward and learn and change. So normally here we'd open it up for questions, and if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to jump right into the next segment. We're going to talk about our workshop, and this is specifically how you can enhance learning. And we do provide workshops, and one of the things we do is we actually provide you the tools where you can host in-house workshops. Now, the reason we do this is, yes, we can do it. Yes, we can get paid for it. But the reality is there's too many people that need to adopt this stuff quickly. We just don't have time. So one of the things I would suggest is, again, find an internal champion, somebody who values learning and who loves to teach, and get them to sit down. And by the way, this is where I love AI. You can say to AI, we have an introductory program. We'd like to introduce ChatGPT to our entry level CPAs or articling students or accounting students, whatever you want to call them. Help me create a 90-minute workshop where we're going to teach them first the basics and then something else. And it's magical because with a little bit of help, AI won't produce your slides right off the bat the first time. But what I do is I'll say, okay, and by the way, you can use this for client facing and client training as well. I always ask it to help me create an outline. So what are the basic things? What do we need to know about ChatGPT? And asking it can help you get your outline done. And what I do is I create my outline and then I ask it to help me with the details of the slides and the script. And basically, there's no better way for your team to learn AI than to learn together. So I am always about creating hands-on experiences. And by the way, anything you use to teach your employees how to use AI better, you can also turn around as a value-added service and offer it to your clients. So one of the things I like to do with the help of GPT is create a list of further learning opportunities. You might share external resources, you might share webinars, online courses, maybe even conferences focused on AI and accounting. The reality is if you let all of your employees go off and find all this stuff on their own, it's going to be random and a little bit piecemeal. What I would suggest is have one of your employees get really good at prompts and asking AI for certain things. Have one employee get really good at research. Have one get really good at templates and client communication. And have them then, these internal champions, train each other and the rest of your team. Now, if you're a solopreneur and you're a party of one, well, you're going to have to step up a little, but I really recommend you attend and take training because if you can identify, let's say as an accountant, you work a few hours a day, maybe 7 days a week. If you could free up 5-6 hours a week, what would that do for you? So this is the one space, and I say this completely sincerely, an hour of learning ChatGPT should give you hours of your life back. And really, truly, as you start to earn your life back through the power of GPT, then you can start reinvesting more of your time into learning other things. So now more than ever, it is really important that you embrace that lifelong learning. I encourage you to focus on continuous learning and adaptability because the AI field and its crossover into accounting technology is evolving faster than ever in the history of humanity. And I want you to understand that this is a partnership with your AI tool of choice and their providers and educational institutions. You shouldn't do this all on your own. You should be reaching out to providers looking for their resources, and you should be building partnerships and relationships, whether it's online or in person, with educational institutions that can get your staff up to speed. There's a lot of specialized training and certifications out there. And above all, put yourself in a position to understand this is lifelong. You're going to do this the rest of your days. So create a plan, set personal learning goals related to AI and accounting research, and find ways to self-direct your own learning. And by the way, that is another excellent place. ChatGPT can help you create a learning plan. Now, at the beginning, we talked about picking the right tool. My advice to you is, and I say this with sincerity, use ChatGPT first. Once you're really good at it, then you can use it to help you select other tools. And I haven't looked at the actual tools, but I'm going to guess that you're going to see research products coming out that are AI enhanced. Um, there's going to be an ever increasing ability to access unparalleled, unprecedented research. So, one of the things I like to do is with your staff create a workbook. So, you have the training and then a workbook. Any guesses or spoiler alert? We'll use ChatGPT to create the workbook, but basically, you want to teach your people how to get search results based on proven data so that going forward they can get their own specific research results based on unique tasks. And again, maybe it's summarizing a new financial regulation or looking at trends in financial data. There is almost unlimited data for us to play with ChatGPT. So, an example, if you're US CPA, you can have ChatGPT summarize the latest IRS guidance on virtual currencies for tax purposes. Again, this is not you take it at gospel, whatever GPT gives you, you test it, you make sure it works, you make sure it makes sense. But again, it can help you identify the experts you need to research, it can help you identify the resources, it can really save you time. Now, another thing I would suggest is a practical exercise. You can ask GPT for help, but bring in your staff and give them a series of research scenarios that they might encounter on the job. And these research examples or scenarios might range from the very simple to the very complex. You're testing their research skills using a new tool. And by the way, when I was a young accountant, I was taught how to cross reference tax cases with tax law. This is not any different, other than the time you invest in training your people, you'll get it back very quickly because they're going to be much faster. For me, I had to read every line of every page just to make sure I understood. With AI now, you can get to that essence much quicker. And as you're training your team members, show them how to use the AI tools to address their challenges and, above all, discuss their approach and findings. It is amazing what we can learn from each other. Another practical exercise you might want to put out there is to have your team find and summarize 3 key points from the most recent FASBA update relevant to small businesses. So it's amazing what's out there. It's limited only by your imagination. The final thing we'll talk about on this slide is group collaboration on strategic decision making. And I will say, when I first started in accounting, the big joke was use your professional judgment. And if you're brand new to accounting, how do you have professional judgment? Um, what I have learned since then is when you look at the big universities, Harvard has their Harvard business cases. Create cases that are very realistic. Maybe they're based on an existing client, but anonymized, and teach your staff to do case study analysis because they'll learn a lot and they'll benefit a lot, but they'll also help each other. So, to do this very practically, just divide your team into small groups and give each group a case study. Have them use artificial intelligence to create insights and to focus on strategic decision making within the accounting context. And this is really powerful. Have each group present their decisions and their rationale to their colleagues. As an example, you might study a manufacturing company that is facing declining profits, and we might use AI to analyze financial reports and industry trends to find strategic adjustments or to help that manufacturing company increase or shore up their declining revenues. Now, there are a few courses that I recommend. We talked about this in other spots, but AI and machine learning for accountants on Coursera is a really good place to start. We have our webinar series and workshops through CPE Think. Um, we will have follow-ups and things like that, but you can delve deeper into AI applications with us or on your own. Things you might want to look at going forward are predictive analytics, fraud detection, and automated compliance monitoring. For example, you might want to attend, there are webinars out there on using predictive analytics for financial forecasting. Now, there are a bunch of community forums. The AI CPA has a technology community, and there's discussions on AI and other emerging technologies. That's a great place to go. And there's always books on the subject. You can create a reading list that you and your team can share. I recommend a mixture of both introductory and advanced materials on AI's impact on accounting. This might include articles, white papers, newsletters, and books by thought leaders in the field. So, an example of a book is The Big Data Agenda in Accounting Opportunities and Challenges. This is actually, a white paper by academic researchers. And then last but not least, if you look to the AI CPA and the CIMA, there are certification programs to provide formal recognition of your expertise in AI applications in accounting. And look at partnerships or financial institutions, educational institutions. There is a lot of additional data available. Now, this is probably going to be the most interesting. I had some thought, and my first thought was I could give you a quick reference guide to GPT. Now, the problem was if I created it, you're going to have to look at it. And honestly, most accountants are going to look at it and say, well, Jeff gave me this list, I need to follow it. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create one or explain to you how to create one using ChatGPT. So as I think this is more practical because it can evolve with you. You are not dependent on me. You can grow on your own. Enter into ChatGPT and just say, ChatGPT, I am a partner in an accounting firm. I would like to create a concise guide to getting started with ChatGPT for accounting research, including setup, basic commands, and accessing support resources. Please help me create that. And you put in the kind of things you want it to research. You can tailor this to your exact practice. Do you have people doing tax research? Do you have people doing government grant research? Whatever that research is, you can create your own in-house little guide, and ChatGPT will help you keep that up to date. So I want to stress that um, ChatGPT is incredibly versatile for pretty much any accounting research task you can think of. And the key is start to build up examples and a database of prompts that you use internally and make sure you're teaching your team how to interpret the responses you get. And one of the other things I would say for you is with your team, create using ChatGPT best practices for integrating GPT into your workflows, and then teach your team how to follow those workflows. And it is amazing. ChatGPT can create training programs, it can create templates, checklists, etc. And the beautiful thing is that if you're using ChatGPT to train your team on how to use ChatGPT, you can keep current, you can understand new developments, new features, and basically you can stay ahead of the AI curve. And I would really encourage you, if you're creating this quick reference guide for your team, have links in there to online communities, forums, or user groups where accountants can share experiences, tips, and use cases for GPT in their practices. So this is different. I can't even begin to fathom it. The impact that AI and ChatGPT is going to have on the accounting profession, we need to get really good at adopting new and better things. So those are some things you can do directly within ChatGPT. And if you're taking notes and paying attention, you might realize I'm not showing you how to do it. I'm teaching you how to understand how to do it so that you can do it yourself. I want you to be fully independent. I don't want you to have to wait for Jack. Now, as always, we need to talk about the ethical considerations. And you want to understand and be really clear with your team what is ethical, what are the guidelines, what is allowed, what isn't. And you want to make sure that your team understands how to use AI responsibly, accurately, and reliably. So there are a lot of things we haven't covered, but I'm going to leave it to each of you to identify your own specific needs and basically look for, bias in AI algorithms, how we make sure we use a diverse set of data, how do we mitigate the risks of AI? And always think about turn to your professional designations. What are the ethical guidelines and standards for use in the accounting industry? What do you need to know about transparency with clients? What do you need to share about AI's role in your research and decision making? And really, truly, I really push this. Look for ongoing ethical training and awareness for your accounting team working with AI so that we can ensure ethical considerations always keep pace with the advances in technology. And I would encourage all accountants, competitors or colleagues, I don't care, have an open dialogue with each other within the accounting profession about how we can ethically use AI and how we can promote a culture of integrity and trust. So we covered a lot, but basically today we talked about our learning objectives around how to do better research and to provide more value to our clients. I'm going to let you think about what your biggest takeaways were. And normally we pause here and we'll ask people to share their key takeaways. But the reality is this presentation was meant to get you as a starter into building a culture around AI and how your team can use it. So I want to stress and remind you that think about how you can implement AI in your research. How could you use it for better decision making? And my personal best use scenario is how can you use AI to continuously learn about AI? It becomes a virtuous self-perpetuating cycle. But the better you get at AI, the better it gets at training you how to get better at it. So that's a little bit to process, but honestly, AI is really good at helping you use AI better. Now, I want to thank you. You've watched this. This is one of our many deep dives, so thank you. I hope the introduction combined with this deep dive was useful to you. And as always, we love feedback. We use it to improve our courses. So thank you, and make sure you reach out with any feedback you have on the content. Next steps, really, really simple. I'm going to encourage you to leave this presentation and at the very least sign up for a free ChatGPT account. You can just Google, how do I get a free ChatGPT account? I can't stress enough, play with it. You can't break it. Look for other instances where you can see AI in accounting. There are some really customized, specialized versions. There's some generic ones. And above all else, if you take nothing away from today, understand that you're going to spend the rest of your career learning how to use AI, or you're going to spend the rest of your career dreading it. I would encourage you, come up with that plan and focus on continuing education in AI. So thank you, and I look forward to your feedback, comments, questions, stray thoughts. Thank you.